destination, only translation. Brotherly love, sisterly affection, government neglection, population of American reflection. Kensington fiend, summer obscene, Schuylkill flows green, only cheesesteak lovers still dream. Bland gray pavements, crack and bleed, weed disrupts families, pigs dominate in neighborhoods, change, new domain of inevitable, reconfigure of frame. Sunny skies, rivers wind, hills and mills provide historical shine. Folks on and in different timelines give this place blessings and continued rhymes. Brotherly love, guns bang and teachers pain, mother's shame, drugs with rice, no more sugarcane, moving trends, blue lights, Cotto, Du Bois, Coltrane, no tame, too much pride to slide to the lane. This is love unknown to some, but I always loved its rain. Philly love. Solid ground, solid might. The Leon Block. Solid ground, solid might. Get your boots on the ground and fight. The Leon Block. Freedom. Freedom of press. Media. Journalists. Journalism. Words matter. Leon Block. Unite the classes. All power to the people. The Leon Block. Get in line. Are you looking to advertise your business to a diverse and conscious audience? Are you looking to give back to your community or have your voice heard? We are looking for you. The Leon Block. We want to provide people and small businesses with more traffic while connecting more people from all backgrounds, as well as integrating viewers more into what we do. Community is everything. Will you join us in help building a better life for us all? The Leon Block Independent Media is a grassroots independent media platform by the people seeking to fill the gaps news deserts have created. Left and socialist leaning, we are pro-black, cover stories of police brutality, human rights, environmental issues, racism, and more in a more in-depth way that mainstream media can't, won't, or doesn't provide. The Leon Block. Our mission is to change the way citizens look at media, to embolden everyone to take part in politics and become an integral and active part of their community, to enrich all of our lives, and to combat racism, to change the way we experience our lives. We focus on police-involved cases and incidents of racism, spirituality, world issues and news, history, music and art, and of course environmental issues. The Leon Block Independent Media is a network providing press, arts, and other media and resources aimed to better reconnect those most oppressed. We run daily web shows through social media, via Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and post information whether it's current events or simple memes to make you think. We try to target different audiences. We do not censor anyone, as we seek to provide truth that mainstream media does not. Also, check out our podcast available on all streaming platforms. The Leon Block. Like, subscribe, and share. The Leon Block. The Leon Block. The Leon Block. Get your boots on the ground and fight. The Leon Block. Stand up and recognize your purpose. Free your mind. The Leon Block. The Leon Block. Beat the bitch. The Leon Block. The system cannot sustain. The Leon Block. Feed your brain. The Leon Block. The Leon Block. Greetings and good vibes, everybody. What's up? It's time for tea. I'm your guy, John Tell. We are back with another webisode. Today, we've got some news and current events. Of course, yesterday was election day. So we're going to talk just a bit about that and a candidate here from my state and Commonwealth of Pennsylvania on the western side that has done some wonderful things. Here at the T, as you know, we provide news, interviews, commentary, pop culture, politics, music, and more because nothing is off the table. Things can get spilled when you don't censor a dish. Raw news and resources mixed with history. We are here to be true, authentic, independent media. What Kool-Aid are you drinking? Because we've got some tea for you, a healthy dose of information that will feed your soul, inform, and educate. And as usual, we want to thank you for viewing and supporting. And if you would like to support more, get your notifications set to be informed when we are live. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're looking into advertisement opportunities, interviews, or want to provide information, DM us on Facebook, email us, or text us at the contacts at the bottom of the screen. All right, so first off, really quick, there is a change.org petition that Free Agents for Justice would like for you to please sign. It's been over a decade since the whole world united against the 1%. Since then, they have used the same old bag of tricks to deceive and divide us. It's time to remind them who's in charge. We told you before, we do not forgive, we do not forget. Expect us in 2023. It's time to occupy everywhere. Once again, all cities, all countries. We are the 99%, and we are done playing their game of global monopoly. Time to flip some tables. And the anniversary link is here as well. I'm going to put that in the comments too. Yeah, so go on over and fill that out. It's important. Now we have some news from Atlanta that I would like to share with y'all because we will be interviewing kin to this young man very soon. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, we wanted to share this with you all.
So I got a call from Jimmy's family, his dad, actually. I think it was the day after he was shot. was shot on January 22nd of 2019. And the family had been on the scene of the shooting. They had been on the scene all day trying to get information about what happened to Jimmy. They had been asking questions, trying to figure out who they could talk to get information, and they were literally being ignored by just about every law enforcement agency on the scene. So from beginning, really until this day, and we're almost 6 months in, our mission has been to, one, find out the truth about what happened to Jimmy, and two, hold the officer accountable who murdered him. The information that was provided was that they were there to execute and serve this armed robbery warrant on Jimmy. So there are members of this FBI task force. Some of them are FBI agents, some of them are Atlanta police officers, and then there's some other agencies who are also represented. They show up at the Allen Hills apartment complex. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday. And there are kids who are getting ready for school. They are.
Marjorie, remember, these are allegations. This is why they served the warrant on allegations of an armed robbery. Just allegations.
Are making their way to the bus stop. It is an average, Tuesday morning in this community when this task force essentially descends upon this apartment complex, almost military style. They have these military style assault rifles. There are quite a number of them. They are in many different cars. And folks at the apartment complex describe seeing these officers, coming into the apartment, coming onto the property, and being really terrified because they weren't sure exactly what was going on. All of this to serve what we would typically refer to as a run-of-the-mill armed robbery allegation. It's what a warrant is. It's an allegation. It's not proof that you did it. It means someone said you did it. So they're here to serve this armed robbery warrant. The information we have is that Jimmy at some point took off running. He was unarmed. There's no claim that he was ever armed, which makes this even more of a mystery to us. But he runs. Eventually, he ends up hiding in someone's closet, a friend's closet in another apartment. The officers learn he is in there, make entry into the apartment, command him to come out of the closet. And as he is complying with their command, Officer Sun Kim shoots him at fairly close range, one time in the face, killing him. There were no guns found around him. There were no weapons found anywhere near him. And no one has claimed that he was armed, even though for a long time, the FBI refused to admit that he was unarmed. There is no evidence that he was armed. So essentially, you have this young man being shot in the face, unarmed, while he is attempting to comply with the commands of law enforcement. So one of the things that we wanted to look at pretty quickly was this armed robbery claim. His family was adamant that Jimmy did not commit this armed robbery and that it was bogus. And so we started to investigate it. Myself and our investigators tracked down the police report, tracked down the witness to the armed robbery, Lynn McFashion, and we interviewed her. She was kind enough to speak to us. And Lynn told us a story that was completely different than what was set forth in this police report.
And I still don't know, exactly what she said in order for them to come and get a warrant, because they came to my house and took me to headquarters. They asked me 1,000 questions about what happened, and I told them over and over again, he didn't have a gun. He didn't rob her. Well, of course, they were on her side because she's the one that went first. I just think it was kind of blown out of proportion. But no, he didn't have a gun. He didn't rob her. And I let APD know that, they should have did a better investigation as far as somebody just accusing another person of robbing me. He asked her to use her phone because he was supposed to be selling some pants.
Jimmy borrowed her phone and walked off with it. That's essentially what happened. There was no gun involved. There was no fight involved. There was no argument involved. But this girl became angry at Jimmy because she thought that he perhaps knew more about what had happened to her in the days before. Perhaps he wasn't telling her everything that he knew about the people who actually did rob her. And so she essentially converted this phone incident into an armed robbery. And it was a complete fabrication.
It's just so crazy how you can just accuse somebody of doing something and the law just, go right with whatever someone says. They didn't have any proof that he robbed her. They just had proof that, he took the phone. They didn't have any proof that he robbed her with a gun or anything, Then she went 2 days later after the phone was taken. So I just felt like she was out to get somebody, but it was the wrong person. Things were like following myself because I felt like if I would have never brought her around, this would have never happened to me. It hurt so bad because I know that he was scared, I know he was scared.
So APD had 2 very conflicting stories about this so-called armed robbery. And they just chose to go out and get a warrant without doing any kind of real investigation. And as a result of that sloppiness and that laziness and that cavalierness, Jimmy is not here today. Because if they had done that, if they had followed up like they should have, like they referenced in their police report, the need to follow up, Jimmy would still be alive.
Yep. Justice for Jimmy. This story we will be getting more into very soon. We're in talks with the family now, so we will be talking about that very soon. We'll take a commercial break and we'll be right back.
Ivy.
Pennsylvania, State Representative Summer Lee, a member of the Democratic Socialists of America who ran on the Democratic ticket, won her race to replace retiring Democratic Congressmember Mike Doyle. The race confused many voters because Summer Lee's Republican opponent has the same name as the Democratic congressman who's retiring, Mike Doyle. In fact, one of his last ads was "a name you can trust," and he rarely identified himself as Republican. Summerlee also faced a flood of opposition and funding from AIPAC, millions of dollars put in against her. This is Summerlee addressing supporters Tuesday night.
It looks like we won an election. We believed in you all because when we were up against a wall, every single time when it looked like
Well, that's unfortunate. Technical difficulties much?
it was getting bleak, we had friends come from all over. When we got into the name confusion and people started wondering what's going on, we had friends come up. When AIPAC dropped another $1 million in the last week, just to send a message and just to try to demoralize us, our movement didn't sit down. We stood up and we fought back. That we're not going to be intimidated, that we're not going to be told what we can and cannot do. We're not going to let dark money and outside folks come into Western Pennsylvania and tell us what type of representation that we deserve, because our communities have been waiting far too long for this. So this is victory, not just for me. This is victory for each and every one of us.
That's Summerlee speaking at her victory party Tuesday night in Pittsburgh as she becomes the Congress member-elect for Pennsylvania. The first African-American Congresswoman to represent Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, in Illinois, State Rep. Delia Ramirez made history as the first Midwestern Latina elected to the U.S. Congress. For more on these and other races, we're joined in Oakland, California by Amy Allison, president and founder of She the People. It's great to have you back with us after we had a late night with you on our midnight special. Talk first about Summerlee.
Well, you know, what we should know about Summerlee is, first and foremost, she's a movement organizer. She comes out of the Black Lives Matter movement. And when she ran years ago for state legislature, she displaced a moderate white guy Dem who wasn't serving Pittsburgh in an environment in Pennsylvania where the Black and brown vote hadn't been fully utilized and engaged in order to build power. She set about doing just that. And she faced stiff opposition. As she mentioned in her speech last night, among those who ran at...
I don't know why this is giving me grief right now.
Both in the primary and in the general, AIPAC's last-minute ads attacking her attempted to demoralize and silence her. But her organizing skills really came through. And what's really interesting about
because of the platform she ran on,
unabashedly a advocate for gender justice. She talked about housing. She talked about reproductive justice. She talked about criminal justice reform, and she didn't back away from any of those things. Leaned into it, organized her set of voters, and had a victory. And you know, the thing is, people are looking at the victory of Fetterman, Senator-elect, and they're saying, wow, that's surprising, but it isn't. When we think about, there was a surge in early voting of women in Pennsylvania, a lot of that fueled by organizers and local elected officials like Helen Ginn, who's on the Philadelphia City Council. Statewide, we were seeing that the ability to turn out women and the most of the Democrats in that state, large percentage are women of color who are Democratic Party loyalists and really progressive voters. So that capacity to be able to turn out voters in Pittsburgh that the Congresswoman-elect Summer
Well, I mean, I guess Democracy Now! Wants to give me grief at the moment, but this excerpt speaks of Summer Lee. She dubs herself a socialist out of the Pittsburgh area, and she won last night, giving Democrats a big boost to the House, I believe it is. Yeah, she's the first Black woman to represent Pennsylvania in Congress. That's crazy. After winning the state's 12th congressional district in yesterday's midterm elections, she's currently a state representative. And yeah, so that was one thing we wanted to talk about. And then also, 3 states banned slavery on Tuesday. 1 voted to keep it. And as Chaz and I talked about this morning on the Urban Conservative, that would be Louisiana. Louisiana voters rejected a constitutional amendment that would have abolished the use of involuntary labor as a form of punishment. Similar amendments were proposed in 4 other states, passing in Alabama, Tennessee, and Vermont, and with results still too close to call in Oregon. This is crazy, but I'm also not surprised. I'm going to put this in the comment section for viewers to check out. Welcome to the show. Welcome to T. Dora. Friend to the show, representing Augur Media, as y'all already know. I do have, where is it? Bear with me. There was something about Brittany Griner that I currently cannot find, but I will get it to y'all in a bit. This is another story on Jimmy Atchison, and this story that we just talked about with that Facebook post. We will be speaking with the family, a family member very soon about this case. However, definitely go and look, read the article. Definitely go read the article, people. Not sure what I did with the article. However, Brittany Griner is being moved to a Russian penal colony. The prison is notorious for mistreating inmates, and they would not disclose any whereabouts on where, when she would be going or anything. They didn't give any details other than this place that she's going to, and this happened on Friday. Also, I don't know if y'all know, but Elon Musk fired half of Twitter's workforce. Democracy.
So did Zuckerberg today with Facebook. Lee Camp's actually been talking about that and a few other things. A very important one. We're seeing all these very dystopian things happening with the rule on slavery and this, that, and the other. The U.S. and UN, the whole UN, but particularly the U.S., just basically condoned a whole bunch of very horrible things, up to and including point blank stating that Iran's next the next Iranian person in charge needs to have certain qualities, up to and including specifically supporting the apartheid regime in Israel. And that's disturbing. Yeah, no, like it's some seriously disturbing stuff. Lee, I sent you the link for that with Lee over on his Rumble, which, by the way, you guys should totally get on Rumble, just for the sake that they don't tend to boot people off from speaking truth.
Yeah, I'm just now hearing about Rumble.
Yeah, that's where Lee ended up going. It started off, it was a little bit heavy on the right-wing side when it first got started. But what happened was that just not many people knew about it. And the right wing did, because of the fact that they're very big on no censorship unless you're directly threatening somebody.
Right.
Like, you say what you say. You know, and that's why Lee's over there now, is because he was at one point on RT America, because that's the only place he could get an outlet without being deplatformed. And because of that, he got labeled a foreign agent by the government and a bunch of other crazy crap. And he used to have a show called Redacted Tonight. His tagline was, "It's the comedy show where Americans in America covering American news are called foreign agents. Now let's take the news from behind." Beautiful coverage of stuff you don't see coverage of. And very good on his sourcing and vetting. Now he's doing a solo act because he doesn't have the support of RT anymore. Like, Soup could take some serious notes from this guy. I'm trying to connect the two of them, actually. But
I shared the petition to change.org for everyone at the beginning of the episode. So just to reiterate again, if you want to give some further details and elaborate on what it's about for viewers.
Well, the easiest way to elaborate this particular concept is, for those of you that remember the Arab Spring movement and Occupy, it's been a little over a decade. I think it's time to do it again. This time with a whole new bag of tricks, because we learned some things from the last time, and this time we're prepared for those types of tactics. The government can do whatever they want to try and break us up. About the only thing they're going to be able to do is put a line on us. You're going to have to shoot us this time, guys. We're not going to leave. The Occupy movement brought people from all different political backgrounds around the world. People put aside racial and cultural differences. People put aside political differences in light of one common thing. We were all part of the 99% of the population that makes like 20% of the money. And we're tired of the 1% controlling everything. And it's gotten to the point, back when we did this last time, it was secret government cabals and, you know, weird ceremonies in the woods, and legitly, like, we were there when Alex Jones busted in on Bohemian Grove. Like, we were the idiots in the river and at the gates. But that was real shit. And now they're not secret about it anymore. The World Economic Forum used to be closed doors. Now they're outright talking about their global plan to take over everything. And you can watch it play out a week or two later after Klaus Schwab says what he says. You can watch it happen in the news just a couple weeks later. It's haunting to watch. Their hubris.
It's definitely haunting to watch, that's for sure. For sure.
And the only thing that's going to stop them is the one thing that scared them. In all this time, the one thing that shook them to their foundations was the Occupy and Arab Spring movement. I think it's time the 99% reminded them that we do not forgive, we do not forget, and that they should expect us.
Agreed.
And I said this on one of the other podcasts recently. I said maybe we should start that whole concept up again. And Mark Paula, who's one of the original organizers and a fairly profound voice out there, posted that. He wants to do it. He thinks it's time too. And I like to think that he heard the podcast, and that's how he did it. And if he's hearing it, that's good news for all of us, you know. Means it's getting it spread out. But like, he agrees, it's time.
Looking through here on my Twitter feed to see what's going on in Palestine as of late. I'm done.
So what, 3 seconds and you're done?
No,
right.
I'm gonna show you.
It's a symbolic, silly thing.
Yeah,
But if I know this is here with you, then I'll feel better and stronger for the fight.
so great honor, but until we win.
When you win, Bring it back to Malibu.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'll feel much better knowing there's a piece of me here.
Hollywood is a joke.
That
Hollywood is a fucking joke.
it's smoke and mirrors, guys. That's what it is. The Gazelle Max, Epstein's side bitch.
For real.
Her trial's going on. What do we got? We got Depp Heard. Yes, significant thing in the culture, but not important. I want to see that other trial. That's all that was. Smoke and mirrors, guys.
Yeah.
Now we got the shit with Kanye. Smoke and mirrors.
Yep. Talk about it.
Like, ask yourself, listening to the shit that he's saying, right? As a man of color, some of that shit does make sense, sure. Because he's right on a few things, but a lot of it is straight Nazi propaganda.
Yep.
And it makes no sense for that kind of shit to be coming out of a man of color. And the only thing I can say is it's a script. Otherwise, we're dealing with the most brainwashed man in need of serious psychological help.
Yeah.
It's one or the other, guys. Either way, we need not pay heed to that shit. And if anything, send him some help.
This is what we need to take heed to. Via the Progress Network, the battle of populism is not a transitory phenomenon soon to be resolved in favor of either democracy or fascism. It is the new normal for the troubled yet resilient democracies of the world, writes TPN member Yasha Monk in about Brazil's election. So I don't know who has kept up about this, but he like pulled a Trump basically. As Sunday's high-stakes runoff election for the presidency between Jair Bolsonaro, a far-right incumbent, and Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, and his left-wing challenger approached. Brazilian political analysis kept returning to two big questions. The first was simply who will win. The second was more ominous. Will the incumbent leave office if he loses? The answer to the first question came late on Sunday night. Lula clearly, if narrowly, defeated Bolsonaro with 51 to 49% of the vote. All the attention then shifted to the second question. Throughout his time in office, Bolsonaro had given the army a more political role, praising the military dictatorship that ruled Brazil from 64 to 85, and appointing generals to senior positions in his administration. In the past months, he lambasted the country's voting system, claiming that it was rigged. Much seemed to indicate that he might follow the lead of Donald Trump and try to stay in power despite losing the election. Lula gave his victory speech. Bolsonaro kept his silence. The Supreme Court called on him to acknowledge the outcome of the election. Bolsonaro kept his silence. Some of his own allies admitted defeat. Bolsonaro kept his silence. The suspense finally came to an end on Tuesday afternoon. Looking deflated, Bolsonaro appeared before the press at his official residence in Brasilia, the country's capital. Flanked by aides, he read a terse statement. Quote, "I've always been labeled anti-democratic, but unlike my accusers, I've always played by the rules," end quote, he said. "As president and as a citizen, I'll continue to follow our constitution." Within 2 minutes, the usually attention-hungry president was out of sight. Woo! I just need to stop and applaud right there because I can't stand his motherfucking ass. I can't stand him more than I can't stand Trump. I'm going to post the rest of this article in the comment section for people to check out if they see fit. What are your thoughts on that, Dora?
I kind of agree on that concept. Like, it's ridiculous. But at the same time, I have to stop and think about the fact of how much involvement does our government have in everything that we just saw play out.
Talk about it. Well, I mean, our country and even Trump, and to some extent, did not like Bolsonaro, and they have interest in Brazil. So it would be, quote unquote, in America and the greater world's best interest to keep the Amazon going, to thwart the administration that Bolsonaro represents. Yeah.
Like I said, the thing that I've come to discover is that even politics, what you see is just as much smoke and mirrors as everything else. It's like I said, one man stands in front of a group of representatives from every majorly developed country and economic power, as well as major corporations. Like, you guys heard about the whole thing with Blackstone and Vanguard, right? America's pretty much divided between those two companies.
I have seen documentaries on it, but my memory on it is very
So
spotty.
basically, if you start looking at the board, the shareholders, because that's who's holding power with companies, the majority shareholder of pretty much every single corporation in America is one of two investment firms. And we're talking like crazy levels of power. And it's either BlackRock or Vanguard. Well, they've recently started going into real estate for some oddball reason. And they're also snapping up, like, you'll be selling a house for $250,000, right? You got a buyer with cash in hand right there, and out of nowhere swoops in Vanguard going, I'll add a few zeros to that. Here's $2.5 million.
Yep.
You're going to take $2.5 million, aren't you?
Talk about it.
It's cash right there in your hands. Take it. That's what happens. And they're buying up all this property.
Yep.
Bill Gates buying up, with government subsidy no less, buying up all of this farmland, right? Yep. Well, who owns majority shareholder of Microsoft? It's not Bill Gates. It's Vanguard.
Mm-hmm.
So the question begged, let's see who owns those two companies, right? Well, BlackRock owns Vanguard and Vanguard owns BlackRock. Dig far enough, you will find a mutual small shareholder in both companies that is a shell company owned by one Klaus Schwab, the head of the World Economic Forum, the founder of the World Economic Forum. Start watching the WEF videos that have been recently put out. Like, there's some serious rabbit hole shit going on there.
Definitely give me links, and we got to do an episode about it so that people, you know what I mean? Because
it's nuts.
It's been a while since, yeah, exactly. Hold on, check this out really quick, because this is, I mean, from last night, these elections, and we were talking about
Next
Louisiana.
time you get in trouble, call a crackhead. I'm John.
No, that thing. God damn. Yeah, I know that.
Just because they're cops, the next time you get in trouble, call a crackhead. I'm John Kelly.
One more time.
And I approve this message. Look, if you hate cops just because they're cops, the next time you get in trouble, call a crackhead. I'm John Kennedy, and I approve this.
That's who won U.S. Senate last night in Louisiana.
Oh, God.
That's who won. This guy right here. Look at him.
Oh, good gravy.
I'm done. Oh, man. Says Louisiana's GOP legislator is trying to redefine blackness. Wow. Wow. Who's joining us? Oh, it's you again. I just noticed that you had lost. No, it's all good. I'm still looking for. There's a couple of people that I look for trusted news out of Palestine, and I'm not seeing anything, and that's very interesting to me.
Well, that's the thing, is if you stop and consider it, take a look at who all's being deplatformed right now.
Right.
Like,
right. Got a point.
Like, it's, and I've noticed it's not just the left, it's not just the right, it's both sides are getting hit with this. And if you look at who it is, it's the people that are more sensical. It's the people that make more sense and they're more rational and reasonable. You know, sure, you got a couple like Alex Jones who is just completely off the deep end. But he didn't start that way. And there's one drunken accidental live stream that he blurts it all out. I almost wonder if that wasn't on purpose. But like point blank stated, just, they say everybody's got their price. Well, they fucking found mine. And now I'm reading off this bullshit dialogue. These idiots are eating it up. Thankfully, I drop a couple nuggets of truth in there. And like, if you'd really dig on it, like there's a nugget of truth in most of what Alex talks about.
That's true.
There's a tiny hair of it deep underneath the gay frogs. They really did make a gas grenade that was supposed to act as a pheromone deterrent, basically make the enemy so back in the I think it was the 80s or 90s. Back when being gay was very taboo, especially in the military, the whole thing was, it was a pheromone gas that was supposed to make everybody turn gay in the battlefield and distract them because they all got weirded out, especially against, Middle Eastern men, very macho men. And one, it backfired because the wind drift caused it to hit everybody. And two, all that ended up happening was a bunch of soldiers were running around, standing in full salute, if you catch my drift, and shooting at each other anyways. They're just like, this is awkward, screw it. And so they're just like, okay, that didn't work. And that's what the reality of what the whole Alex Jones making the frogs gay thing was. The weird shit the government just tries. Just an example of documentable real shit that we've actually tried that's just completely harebrained. Like, the more you look into it, the more insane the more it becomes evident how insane the war machine actually is.
We got to do an episode about that too.
Oh, dude. I got 1,000,001 subjects that were just as valid back in Occupy as they are now.
Same.
And there are things that nobody thinks about anymore because we're so distracted by the bright lights and flashbangs and all this crap going on around us that in all reality, even that I feel is smoke and mirrors. And like I said, that you really need to check out some of the stuff that Klaus Schwab has been saying in his fucking forums, because as soon as you see that, everything becomes so obvious. Down to George Floyd's death. He may not have been in on, but I guarantee you the cops were.
Same thing
Like
I've been saying here in my area about what happened here. So yeah,
it's all designed to catalyze us against each other. What's one of the easiest ways to divide the people? Split them on racial lines, split them on political lines, split them on religious lines. You get those three all at the same time. Ooh, baby, you got a real fucked up stew. And it's real easy to stir that pot.
All right, Dora, we're going to wrap this episode down and tie it in a knot. I can't thank you enough for always rocking with us and joining the chat. We have to get you back on Point of View to talk some more shit, too. So, of course, thank you for tuning in. And viewers as well. As usual, we must be clear and understand that the fundamental problem is the root, and that would be the root of the system. The only way we can change is if we bring leaders in and commit to the long haul, connect through community. You are the media, and you are what helps us grow. People want to know what's really going on in the world. And it means people have the solutions and ideas if they really think about it. Stop and think about it. People have things to say. And the Leon Block Independent Media is here to be your platform, your mic, and your voice. As usual, thank you for rocking with us, y'all. Make sure you meditate on your path, celebrate your being, liberate your spirit, and educate yourself. Have a good one. Solid ground, solid might. The Leon Block. Solid ground, solid might. Get your boots on the ground and fight. The Leon Block. media, journalists, journalism. Words matter. The Leon Block. Unite the classes. All power to the people.